तो how did you start and why is caste so important and Ambedkarite क्या है वो भी explain कर दो
So
please.
for me, when I was in college, I was born and brought up mostly in Odisha, schooling and all. My dad is in central government, and वहाँ पे एक तो my surname is from the south, तो किसी को मेरा caste identity ऐसे ही पता नहीं चला. So I did not face any explicit as a caste bias or anything because my caste identity was not out. Even when I went to college, I was of this opinion कि caste वो गांव में होता है. आजकल doesn't really matter. So we have progressed as a society. We're caste blind. No one thinks about it. At least IIMs में तो नहीं. Then we moved into an IIM, and for the first 2-3 months everything was fine. Most of the friends were all caste friends थे, सब कुछ ठीक था. But one day I was filling a certain exam form or something, and they saw ये बंदा वो category में fill कर रहा है. And then I figured out उनका behavior visibly changed. Same classroom discussions हो रहे हैं या कोई भी discussion हो रहा है. I keep the same points, but people are not taking me seriously. Then I was wondering, कुछ तो है, कुछ तो ऐसा ऐसा है. And then I started hearing some very questionable comments. Starting it starts from okay ये तो reservation वाला है, इसको तो कहाँ से बुद्धि होगा, something like that. And then it moves to something much worse. कि इसको तो मेहनत भी नहीं करना पड़ेगा. More like ये इनका तो जाति ऐसा होता है. Moves to more and more extreme as you go. Then I realized okay this is serious. Then I started blaming myself कि शायद this is some my character flaw that I was born into this caste. अब मेरे को ऐसा झेलना पड़ रहा है. Then I started reading about Dr. Ambedkar. And Dr. Ambedkar during his time, first time there was no reservation, there was no nothing. But then the caste discrimination was very real. And he talks much detail how it came to be, how it happened. And then I realized, okay, this caste thing is very real. And then what clicked in my mind is that during the IIM Indore placements का जो induction होता है, the placement committee comes and says, okay, हमारा college के इतने package है, average package इतना है, ये है, वो है. Then some person asked a very simple question. Can you give me the category wise breakdown of the average package कि SC का कितना है, ST का कितना है, OBC कितना है, general कितना है, like caste wise average दे सकते हो. For asking that question, that guy was almost kicked out of the placement process. उसको डिबार कर देते थे.
अच्छा.
हाँ. Then I realized इतना क्या है? Is it such sensitive of a topic कि बात ही नहीं कर सकते इस पे? हाँ, because when you go to IITs and IIMs, आपको first week में induction में they teach you about gender sensitivity. कि females भी होंगे, don't act disrespectful, कैसे बात करना and all that. But caste sensitivity का ये नहीं होता है. Then I figured out in my own class, जो SC/ST students हैं, वो उतने confident नहीं होते हैं. वो थोड़ा अलग अपना ग्रुप बना के रहते हैं, ज़्यादा बात नहीं करते. Then I talked to them and I understood यार why they feel so underconfident, because the ecosystem they feel it's very hostile towards them. They don't understand its experiences. And when you dig more into it, you look at the statistics, you look at the representation, you will find out, say for example, अभी क्या है, startup का ज़माना है, IIM से बच्चे निकल रहे हैं, people are opening unicorns and all. Even the startup ecosystem, the unicorns, the funding, if you see, the India में कितने, if you look at the 100 biggest unicorns, how many of them have SC/ST founders? Barely. Then you look at pop culture, your movies. Do we have any SC/ST actors, actresses जो mainstream में? नहीं. Singers maybe no. So in terms of the entire India जो culturally हम जानते हैं, be it the media, singing or Shark Tank, anything, जहाँ पे popular ये aspirational जहाँ जगह होते हैं, वहाँ पे the SC/ST representation is almost nil. Almost, you barely find 1 or 2. SC/ST छोड़ो, OBC तक बहुत कम. And the same thing, if you look at it from that lens, you'll understand why Dr. Ambedkar was so adamant about the whole reservations things, because उनको पता है that in the framing of the Indian nation, if you don't have that representation का clause कि नहीं हमको चाहिए ही चाहिए some percentage of representation, you will find wherever you don't have any reservation per se, there is no diversity in terms of caste. Like all the Bollywood actors हो गए, या all the big CEOs हो गए, all the big startup founders, they all come from a certain caste composition. So that reality, it was like, okay, this is where it goes much. इसके layers हैं, it's very deep. And the biggest place where you'll find open where caste is playing a part is matrimonial. Go to any shadi.com, ye.com, the first filters, it's caste only. Even when you open the marriage categories, आप अगर abroad में compare करोगे, abroad में भी matrimonial websites होते हैं, वहाँ पे it's occupation. Doctor wants to marry a doctor, this person wants to marry this person, banker को banker चाहिए. यहाँ पे ऐसा नहीं है. यहाँ पे the primary filter is the caste. अब ब्राह्मण को ब्राह्मण में ही चाहिए, but गोत्र अलग होना चाहिए. फिर राजपूत को भी राजपूत में. So these many years after independence, we have all progressed. We are speaking in English. हम बड़े-बड़े colleges में जा रहे हैं, companies में काम कर रहे हैं. Even people working PwC, people working in Deloitte, top companies, earning इतने packages में, they go to New York and they give all these big talks. But when it comes to their own personal life, it's still अपने caste में शादी करना है. उतना even within the so-called upper caste dispensation, जहाँ पे आप मान लीजिए कोई राजपूत है, दूसरी ब्राह्मण है, उनका intercaste marriage में ही they face this. And then you'll find out a lot of जो मेरे दलित आदिवासी SC/ST sisters है, they go to IITs and IIMs and in starting में they start dating say an upper caste boy. Starting में the guy is like नहीं उनको फर्क ही नहीं पड़ता. But in multiple cases you see their relationship, it doesn't materialize into marriage or something. The primary reason being लड़का हाथ खड़ा कर देता है. Caste difference we cannot do. So in terms of personal life, in terms of corporate accomplishments, in terms of who owns the wealth capital in the country, there's a primary caste factor which mostly is overlooked. And I was like, this इसके बारे में तो conversation हो ही नहीं रहा है. And when I started off, one of the vibrant conversations happening in the space was about feminist discourse, women's rights, women's representation, which is a very valid thing also. And I was like, okay, this is very important. इस पे हो रहा है. Why are no one talking about caste? This is also major aspect if you're talking about Indian ye. And Dr. Ambedkar also said this about the Indian the socialist leftist people. They talk a lot about income inequality, working class ye. But in India, you'll have to understand that जो caste है and the working class issues है, they are both two sides of the same coin. When this talks about division of labor, the other thing, the caste talks about division of laborers itself. तो वो है. And you figure out that even people who have Dalit IAS officers तक बन गए. You would be surprised to know in Rajasthan, IPS officer who was Dalit, जब उनका शादी होने के बाद बारात निकला, and he was riding a horse, he had to be given police protection. Because even to this day, people assume that जो घोड़ा है, it is for the Rajputs, the dominant castes to ride. ये दलित है, ये कैसे घोड़े चला सकते हैं, even if he's an IPS officer. So the society में it is very rare. Multiple stories, multiple own personal experiences, you'll see where a Dalit person, even very accomplished, even in a top corporate position or even say UPSC position, they find social ostracization in terms of making friends and matrimonial dating. It's very real.